We find ourselves in the most amazing of times. 2023. Even the numerical date still sounds like one from science fiction. We have technologies that enable us to communicate across the world instantaneously, medicines that boggle the mind, and scientists even proclaiming coming advancements where machine and human unite to benefit humanity. Whether we think these things are for good or not is unimportant, it seems. The future is beyond our control to a large degree. Progress is inevitable and for the greater good if we are to heed the words of the world organizations such as the World Economic Forum. But some of us are looking to the past. We are looking to ancient evidence that causes us to ask many questions. Questions that have the possibility to divide. Families, friends, work colleagues, and educators can all suddenly turn against a person who decides to question the shape of our home, our world. Why is this subject so taboo? Up until 500 years ago, it was commonly accepted that the Earth was the center of the universe. The sun and the moon revolved around us in the sky, and we lived on a stationary, flat Earth. Some of the oldest books in existence, the Torah, Bible, Vedas, and many ancient texts, even describe the Earth being flat and immovable. Nearly every culture and religion had its own mimicry of this belief to varying degrees. There is a Vedic map from the 1900s that illustrates a flat Earth with other Earths around it, which are hidden by ice walls. There are so many stories that are there to show us that questioning the globe theory is actually a valid thing to do. One that scientists should embrace, not ridicule. So why does this area of science have so much negative stigma attached to it? To question the heliocentric model, the theory that the sun is the center of the universe and all its relevant theories that help to back it up, can bring responses that range from complete ridicule to utter horror, as if you are akin to a Holocaust denier. No one wants to be ridiculed, and they definitely do not want to offend to the degree that this topic can bring. There is no reason for the scientific community to see the topic as ridiculous. Scientists are seriously trying to prove and/or disprove so many things, even the existence of the Creator, and strangely, no ridicule is seen there. So why the flat Earth? We don't know. Maybe they protest too much and maybe they are hiding something. We won't know until the flat Earth community can be taken seriously and intelligently. That is not too much to ask, is it? The globe has been flooding our consciousness since the invention of the silver screen and later the television. The globe Earth is seen on film logos, food advertising, and airlines, just to name a few. Science fiction novels, film, TV, and comics all continue to bombard us with planets that are immeasurably far from Earth, all globes, all hurling through space and time. We have been inundated with the globe since childhood. We are taught it as a fact, when they fail to tell us that it's still just a theory. As is gravity, relativity, wormholes, black holes, string theory, etc., etc. All these ideas have had to be theorized about to try to make sense of the globe and its relation to its environment, the universe. A psychologist will tell you that if someone repeats an idea or a phrase often enough, it becomes a belief that is very hard to remove from your psyche. This is part of the process of what is commonly called brainwashing. No one wants to admit they have been the victim of brainwashing, but unfortunately it's a very common effect used on the human mind. From advertising agencies to governments, schools, religious cults, and many more areas of society. The field of behavioral science is being used to make people change their ideas about so many things. We see changes in how society sees religion, and medical procedures such as abortions, gender realignment, to name a few very current cultural changes. 100 years ago, these things would never have even been heard of and would be seen as terrible. Is it a natural evolution of society, or does society have its mind changed from the top down? It doesn't seem so strange to consider that the heliocentric model was a programmed idea to change the role of humanity as a special creation on Earth to nothing more than meaningless results of evolution, from a random, meaningless explosion floating on a blue speck in an ever-expanding universe. There are many scientists that have spoken for or have had their theories used to create the heliocentric theory. From Isaac Newton, Johannes Kepler, and Albert Einstein, and promoted today by modern mainstream scientists like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Stephen Hawking, Bill Nye, etc. These theories are promoted by the mainstream science community as fact to keep the population on their spinning ball. The modern scientists' names are given almost rock star status, and they refuse to acknowledge that there is a debate to be had with the flat Earth community. The flat Earth community is portrayed by mainstream science as cult-like and ignorant, when in reality the opposite is more than true. A typical flat Earth proponent will have been brought up to totally believe in the Disney-style globe just like everybody else. They usually have the ability to use critical thought and see new information as a reason to get excited about exploring the possibilities of holding a new idea in their minds. They hold the value of scientific reasoning as central to their ideas. They are good at researching and evaluating their research to the extent that, despite not being university graduates in astronomy or astrophysics, they can be seen as an expert in these fields as they have spent many years studying them. It's very hard to find someone who is brave enough to stand up and say, "The Earth is flat," who hasn't done hours and hours of research to back the statement up. Why is it so hard for others to let go of their belief system? Because, simply speaking, it is hard to let go of any old belief system, especially if the new one is as challenging as society has made the geocentric model look. Regardless of why society has made the model look so idiotic, they have. How do we get out of this bind and open our minds to the possibilities? Personally, I think it's easy. You give it a chance and simply listen to the ideas and choose whether it's for you or not. If we don't give another's ideas a chance, we could lose our freedom of thought, simply because we have been encouraged to think something was stupid. No one should be told what to think. It's always ours to choose.
The mechanical realm beckons us to unlock its mysteries. Through history, archaeology, astrophysics, and astronomy, we embark on a quest to decipher the intricate workings of the past. The pieces of the puzzle come together as we explore the convergence of art, science, and philosophy. Prepare for an extraordinary journey where hidden truths come to light. The secrets of the mechanical realm will redefine our perception of history and reshape our appreciation of the past and shape of our Earth. Get ready to witness the unveiling of the extraordinary, a geocentric, stationary, flat Earth working model that has defied the passage of time.
Antikythera mechanism seems to have been the predecessor to the astronomical clocks, like the astrolabes in Prague and the Torvaso in Cremona, Italy. Here we can observe how the geocentric model comes to life on a non-movable flat Earth. These clocks show the positions of the Sun, the Moon and stars, and also other cyclical formations, like day and night, lunar and solar eclipses, the seasons and solstices. In the inner circle, we see the Earth represented as a flat circle, establishing the geocentricity of the model. On the inner ring, we see the 12 calendar months represented by the symbol. On the outer ring, we see the 24 hours dividing the clock. And all the rings and pointers are in constant motion, circling the flat Earth in the center, and give the exact solar date, just like the Antikythera mechanism.
This mechanism it's an instrument of mathematical astronomy. It's intensely rich in mathematics. It's not complicated mathematics, it's simple arithmetic and it's simple geometry but put together in an absolutely beautiful way. This new paper brings together many ideas from the past, but it puts them forwards in a synthesis which shows an absolutely dazzling display of the ancient Greek cosmos, how they saw the planets, the moon and the sun.
Pattern of pillars on this wheel, it had structure, some sort of structure that revolved like a merry-go-round. And what I ended up with was models of the planets. This is a model of the Greek cosmos, geocentric. You can think of this cover plate in the middle as representing the Earth, and everything goes round it. This is a model of the Greek cosmos, geocentric. You can think of this cover plate in the middle as representing the Earth, and everything goes round it. It's geocentric. You can geocentric. You can.
So what the Anti-Kipling mechanism teaches us is that the heliocentric hypothesis is false. The sun is not the center of anything. Nothing is going around the sun. Everything is going over the surface of our flat and stationary Earth. The sun, the moon, and the stars, they move in perfect, precise order. They are absolute perfection, and they work almost like a divinely inspired clock. So this realm that we live in works in perfect order. It is not chaotic. It is not the result of some random explosion of nothing that created everything that we see. It works with precision. And what you will see if you look at the Anti-Kipling mechanism and compare it to what we see in our observable reality is that everything moves over the surface of our flat and stationary Earth. Nothing goes around the sun. The sun is not the center. The heliocentric hypothesis is false. The geocentric hypothesis is reality. The geocentric idea of the Earth is reality, but not geocentric meaning that the Earth is a globe. The Earth is flat and stationary. The geocentric model is a flat and stationary Earth and an enclosed electrical topographical stationary plane where everything we see in the sky is moving in perfect pattern over us, replicated patterns that repeat themselves, seems like every 19 years. The sun, the moon, and the stars move under Polaris around the surface of our flat and stationary Earth.
It would be impossible to see this cycle in the heliocentric model, which has us moving in at least 4 different ways at incredible speeds through an endless space. This mechanism is based on a geocentric model, with us in the center and all linearly circling above us in a repeatable cycle. Our whole Earth system with the sun, the moon and stars is a magnificent timepiece divinely created for us to keep count of the days, the months and the years, in such a way that we can see it with our naked eyes. Who could have taken all that knowledge and put it in a game mechanism in such an incredible way?
Of the Earth as a bullseye, and in the middle of that Earth, or the middle of that bullseye, is Polaris up in the sky, but down below is possibly a tree, possibly a black rock, or the stump of a tree. You can hypothesize that all you want. I don't know. But what I do know from what the Anti-Kipling mechanism shows us and what we see when we look into the sky is that everything is circling in spirograph pattern all around the surface of our flat and stationary Earth, and nothing is going around the sun. The sun is part of this realm that moves in perfect precision with everything else in the sky. It is not the center. It is not a huge ball of mass that's attracting all these other planets that are rotating and orbiting and tilting and wobbling. None of that. The heliocentric hypothesis is false. The geocentric view of this world or this realm is reality, but not a globe. The Earth is flat and stationary. Geocentric means everything is moving around the center of our flat and stationary Earth.
Nearly all throughout the realm, ancients also built structures of amazing size and spectacle that were aligned with certain constellations. They had no idea about the heliocentric model because there simply was none. No one thought they were moving there until maniacs took over and started talking psychobabble about uncontained pressurized nuclear furnaces like the sun being chased by planets over millions of miles through billions of years. It was all caused by gravity, which is a force they still can't really explain. They have 3 different versions, and neither one of them makes sense. I wonder what they would think about this version of outer space we're being taught today.
Now, when they found that ancient Greek computer thing, what is that called?
The Antikythera mechanism.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, that testifies to a lost navigational skill that we have not taken account of before.
Incredibly complex, and it took a long time for them to figure out what that even is.
Yeah.
What do they think that is now?
It tracks the movements of the planets. It's a navigational device. It's a geared, cogged system that allows you to track the passage of time and figure out where you are. It's some kind of navigational device. It's not fully understood.
And how old is that?
I think that goes back to Greek times. I'm guessing here because Greek times are not of great interest to me, but I'm thinking around about 500 BC.
So, at least 2,000 years old, 2,000 plus, and we know that there had to be more than one of these things.
Yes, you can't have something like that without a vast effort behind it. Human beings were working on creating this geared and cogged machinery that reflected the patterns.
Was that a recreation?
That's a recreation.
Wow.
Of something like it, yeah.
Can you buy one of those? It looks like you can buy that, dude. Fine, bookmark that. We need one right there, right next to the plasticells.
So such a thing is a cultural artifact which doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It has to have a context. It has to have a background. And again, my suggestion would be perhaps a secret technology. It's very odd that very few of these have been found, and it may be that ship owners and navigators in Greek times were extremely careful about who they shared this technology with.
Of course.
It may have been as top secret as nuclear power is in our world today.
Oh, that makes sense.
But the fact is that then it exists, it's real, it's there.
Yeah.
And then we must consider what's behind it. What led to that? Is that just the latest manifestation of something that goes much more deeply back into human culture? And I think that is. I suppose my main message is that we have a so far untold backstory, that we're concentrating entirely on the front story, and the backstory is missing, very largely missing from the picture. And what I've tried to do is to fill in bits of the back.
The gatekeepers are doing their job so that people really don't know the purpose of this technology like these. They give us some truth and they want you to look elsewhere. They don't want to let you know the importance and the true purpose and the meaning of these devices. So they are having these devices being produced and they all want it. They know that the digital device cannot be relied on as they need power, but these mechanical machines don't need any power. They can see the past, present, and the future as the ancients have been doing for thousands of years. It's their job to do that, to keep you confused. They believe some would call it a navigational device, a clock, a calendar, an astronomical device, astrological, or an astro-divination device, a geomancy device. The best part is it's a combination of all these science together in one device, working in perfection, reflecting the movement, the only movement, about to a geocentric stationary platform. A model that's been working more than 2,000 plus years and will be functional in the future. That's true science, simple science. There are no fake formulas, theories, and pseudoscience. People made a watch based on the Antikythera mechanism, and they wanted to do more expeditions to find more pieces so they can find what was the real purpose of these devices. They already know the purpose of these devices. The gatekeepers make sure you don't get to the core and know exactly what it is. A fully functional geocentric stationary flat earth model.
Antikythera mechanism was a very complicated machine at the time. You had to be schooled to be able to input the correct information and in turn read it properly. According to Rabbi Eliezer, in the principle of intercalation, Joseph, who was made second in command to the Pharaoh in Egypt after he was sold by his jealous brothers, was using his skills of reading the stars. In the book of Jasher, we learn that he made use of stellar instruments. This cosmic knowledge would have been passed down from generation to generation, which would make this knowledge come from an even more ancient origin. Now that is certainly a very interesting concept to study further.
In the public school system or professors in the university system, they are literally regurgitating their indoctrination, and that's all. I would call a lot of these scientists pseudoscientists because they have a lot of claims with very little evidence, if any, especially when it comes to the shape of the Earth and with astronomy and what we see in the sky. A lot of what we see, what we observe in this realm, contradicts what we were taught to believe by these scientists. So the scientists that are in the public school system teaching kids, the professors who are in the universities teaching young adults, they have beliefs, and their beliefs have blinded them to some of the simple truths of this realm that we live in. They're blinded by bias and can't consider things that contradict their beliefs. I would ask you to just consider questioning everything. Question the shape of the Earth, question what we see in the sky with the sun, the moon, the planets, and the stars, and seeing if you can learn something new. See if you can learn something true.
How come nobody has written about it? The Greeks and Romans wrote thousands of detailed documents. Why was there no mention of the Antikythera mechanism before the sponge divers discovered it in 1901? The ancient Greeks were effectively branded as pagans and wiped out by invaders. All the Greek books were allegedly burned, and the Greek philosophers were wiped out within 3 generations. The only records we have from ancient Greece are through Arabic scholarly texts. So didn't the Romans keep any records of what the Greeks had done or written? And where are the artifacts? Cicero was a Roman politician and historian who once made an obscure reference to a device they had for predicting solar events. But we can't rely on his account because he often wrote with a mixture of fact and fiction. And it seems that Christianity successfully suppressed this knowledge and replaced it with pseudoscience. And this is in the history books that you can check for yourself.
Marcus Tullius wrote a book, De Silica in 54 BC. It mentioned that the Romans killed Archimedes and took away 2 mechanisms that could calculate the movement of the celestial bodies. They also took the design and the manuscript. The author thought this book was fictional until they found the Antikythera mechanism. The device was really important for the rulers. If they were so advanced in the other technologies like construction and many other sciences, this device would have been really important for them for the military campaign, to know if the days are longer or shorter, best days to attack, longer nights, possible weather patterns during the time of the year. And for the kings and the preachers too, it would have been also a really important device for predicting eclipses, equinox, solstice, for the rituals and ceremonies. They would actually become gods if they could predict the celestial events in advance, which used to happen in many different cultures, including the Egyptians and the Vedics. Even for the astrologists, was a really important device for predicting the client's future, depending on the dates. Let them see back in the past and present and the future for that particular zodiac, luminary, conjunction, horoscope, or constellations. Equally would have served for astronomers too. For the navigator, the device to locate the constellation, complementing with devices like astrolabe, compass, sextants during their trips. So this device was shared by many different cultures and civilizations in every aspect of their life.
Actually does. Here's what people had to say. I think this is a very old mechanism. It's supposed to be one of the earliest things that can be called a computer, maybe. I believe it was used to predict celestial events, maybe like when planets meet, stuff like that. Otherwise, I think it's not fully understood, and there's still some stuff we might find out about it.
The mechanism has been guarded for thousands of years by a secret sisterhood of astronomers. It is a defense against the Kythera, a many-headed, planet-eating space gorgon. Day by day, the Kythera draws nearer, and the anti-Kythera mechanism has been guarded for thousands of years by a secret sisterhood of astronomers. It is our only defense.
Geography, about the sky, astronomy, about architecture all over the surface of our Earth, history, and a lot of that as taught by the government indoctrination camps that you would call public schools, is simply not true. A lot of what we were taught from the time we were very young. I came up in the public school system. I graduated from the public school system with very high grades. But after I became an adult, I had to start putting away some of the childish beliefs that were spoon-fed to me when I was a child, like the solar system and the Earth being a spinning wet rock in outer space, because that's not what we observe if we will actually look at the world that we live in. Our observable reality debunks the globe delusion. What we learn from the Antikythera mechanism, and as amazing as it is, the simplicity of it, as complex as it was for the alleged time that it was found, or the alleged time that it was created, the simplicity of the movement of the sun and the moon and the stars over our head should tell anybody who can truly think independently that the Earth is flat and stationary. We live in an intelligently designed, enclosed system that is electrical, topographical, stationary. The Earth is not a spinning wet rock in outer space, and we can see this clearly when we look at the Antikythera mechanism for what it is. Not just who built it or when they built it, but just the fact that there's not one thing in the Antikythera mechanism showing the Earth as one of the heavenly bodies moving around with the other heavenly bodies. That's not on the Antikythera mechanism. Why? Because the Earth is not a globe. The Earth is not in space. The Earth is not rotating, it's not revolving, it's not tilting, it's not wobbling. The Earth is an enclosed electrical, topographical, stationary plane. And you can see this clearly if you will look at what the Antikythera mechanism actually is. It shows the movement of the heavenly luminary, the sun, the moon, and the planets. The Earth is not on the Antikythera mechanism because it is not a planet.
Scientific literature is clear on the fact that several psychological rhythms and collective behaviors are not only synchronized within the solar and geomagnetic activity, but also destruction in these fields can create adverse effects on human health and behavior. So why is this so important to us? The point is that on a biological level, we know that all life on Earth is linked somehow with the solar and lunar cycles, and possibly others as well. There's also a great deal of evidence that human consciousness, which plays a big role in many different sciences, including the non-material sciences, is directly connected to astronomy and astrology in very peculiar ways. The Antikythera mechanism would have served to predict all of these important cycles to help those who use it to live in harmony with the sky clock and the sky calendar. This is the heliocentric solar system Big Bang model. It was flying around out of space, going nowhere as nothing around us ever changes position in the sky for thousands of years. It's not a huge surprise that an Antikythera mechanism story is absent from history. Another example of something significant being absent from the narrative is the explanation for Star Wars. That just doesn't line up. There have been so many misconceptions about history that have been retold after the many decades. This may be one of the greatest mysteries ever told, because history seems to be nothing more than a bunch of stories that didn't happen, being told by people who weren't there. Given the fact that there's only one, and the complexity and precision of this, and the absence of it in history, this device displays amazing technologies. 30 gears working in unison around an essential point, the Earth, the realm, showing the phases of the moon in a separate gear system sideways, transferring mechanical energy to the world. Tell what they really know about why it was so important to the ancients to have such a perfect astronomical timepiece to look at what we now call outer space.
Symbols we see in different cosmologies or texts and scriptures. To begin with, in the Masonic flat earth model, there's a projection of the black sun that projects from below the earth, from the center, all the luminaries, and that black sun is shown as a wheel or as a gear. In the Slavic cosmology, the tree of life, the central mountain, similar to Mount Meru in other cosmologies, this tree of life rotates. The roots come from below the earth. The trunk and the branches shown as rotating, which also gives us as a mechanical movement. The Vedic cosmology, the Mount Meru is represented to be attached to the luminaries above with an invisible string. And the whole movement through that central shaft again showing a mechanical movement. The electromagnetic field of the earth being greater than the luminaries, so all of them rotate around us, floating in ether, always connected to the magnetic north or center, same as the central shaft as it works in the Antikythera mechanism. So there are many other cosmologies which reflect that, and the importance of the North Pole can be seen everywhere.
It's a clock! Oh my god, it's a clock! Virus, you're a genius! You're a genius! This entire arena seems to be laid out like a clock.